So, good evening, everyone. And today we are going to see how we can apply JavaScript to our virtual lab and make it even more functional. And the first thing that I want to share is yesterday somebody asked me a question about what is the difference between the percentage and VH. So, if we use percentage for width or height, what will happen? And if we use VH, so what will happen? So what I told you was actually reverse opposite of the correct answer. So sorry for that. And the correct answer is if we use width, if you use percentage to specify width or height, the inner element will proportional to the its parent element. So for example, if the parent element has a width of 500 pixels and inner element has a width of 100%, so it will be equal to 500 pixels. Okay, if you set the width to 50%, then it will become 250 pixels. And in case of VH, if you it irrelevant of the parent, the entire screen size will be allotted to that element. So if you said height is equal to 100 VH, then the size of your screen will be the size of that element. So that is the difference, actual difference. And the next thing that I want to share is yesterday we left some code behind. I forgot to tell you that. So let me just share my screen and I will show you. Kshitij, is my screen visible?
Yes, Aditya.
Are there any patches?
No.
Okay. So this is our yesterday's code. What I want to show you is inside this comment section, suppose I write something. Yes. And if I reload my page, you can see a test comment is appearing here, but we don't want that. So for that, we can apply CSS to it. So let me just remove the comments. And also for the submit button. Okay, so for this area also, the text box and the button, we want to apply some styles. And we just, right now, we just ignore this statement, visibility is equal to hidden. So now if you refresh that, you will look, the comment section will look something like this, which is looking pretty nice. So right now we will hide it. And at the time of, if we want to show any comment, we will display it using our JavaScript. Okay, so right now it is hidden. And the other thing is, okay, let me explain the code. So inside the comment, we are saying display inline. What it means, it will display the line, it display the element exactly in a same position next to the sibling. So in here, hash include is a sibling of our comment. So our comment will be displayed in front of it. Then we set the background color, text color, padding, all the same things. And the another important is visibility. Visibility hidden means it will not show anywhere on your screen. You can just set it to visible, so it will be visible for you. And transition, it is generally used for smoothing the effect. Okay. And inside our submit button, this is the basic CSS we have written. Nothing more complicated in that. So that's the thing. And after this, just one thing. Okay, so today Kshitij will explain you the basics of JavaScript, and then I will explain you how you can write code in JavaScript so you can make our virtual lab functional. And I'll also tell you that how you can make your website responsive. Okay, so stay tuned for that. And I think now Kshitij will take over. So Kshitij, hello Kshitij.
Hello. Yes.
Okay, you can take over.
Okay. Aditya, I don't have sharing rights.
Hmm. Check now.
Yes, got it.
Okay.
Is this visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So guys, very good evening to everyone. So today we will just start learning JavaScript from scratch. We'll try to cover almost most of the part of JavaScript which will be needed for you. So let's begin. So first thing, we'll just look at the background of JavaScript. So it's a programming language for web, and it's also called as a scripting language. The main motive of building this programming language was to give some scripting programs to the website and give some what we say design aspects and do some calculations on the website. That was the first motive of this website. So it was built by Brendan Eich, and it was primarily been called as Mocha or Mocha, what we say. And Brendan, I took about 10 days to develop this website. It was built in 1995, and since then there have been various tremendous changes into this language, and various frameworks came into existence. So I'll just show you later on the frameworks too. So what JavaScript can do is it can manipulate HTML and CSS, and we can also do some calculations and validation tasks too. And now, are there any patches, Aditya, any on the screen?
No, Kshitij. It is perfectly fine.
Okay, okay. So guys, so the first thing that I'm displaying here is jQuery. So whenever after you learn JavaScript, JavaScript is mostly used for designing purpose, and now recently it is also used for full-fledged websites too. So what jQuery does is you must have visited various websites and you must have seen those various animations that puts you onto the website that makes you stay onto that website. That is very much attractive. So jQuery helps you. It is a framework in JavaScript that helps you make the design pretty much easy and add various effects. So the another framework that we have is React.js. You must have heard about this very much recently. Using React.js, you can build full-fledged websites with database integration too. And next we have here is React Native. So the difference is React.js is used for web development and React Native is used for mobile development. And now it is very much possible to do mobile development in JavaScript. The best part of this is just like Flutter, React Native can also build cross-platform applications. So what does cross-platform means is cross-platform applications are the applications that can run on Android as well as on iPhone. So that's the plus point of it. So these are a few frameworks I'd like to add here. So now let's move on to some internal part of JavaScript. So how did JavaScript understands HTML? So it actually just don't understand this HTML code. So what it has is this document object model. Okay, so it is kind of a document which is developed. What do we say? Like side by side to this web page. So whenever a web page is loaded, this document is created onto the background. And what this document has is it has a hierarchy of all the objects that are created. So I'll just run you through what the objects are. So the very first object is the document itself, I would say. And the first object is the HTML tag. Inside that, the different two objects are body and head. Inside head, there's another object that is title. And you can see that document is not highlighted. It is not inside a block because it is not an object. It's a text that we have here. That's changing, right? So that's why we don't consider it as an object. So another one is that body and hey all. Similarly, whenever you build a website, such kind of a document object model is created onto the background, and JavaScript understands this very much well. So that's how JavaScript understands it. So just remember this. I'll come to this point later on when we are coding. So now, very first quick note is, now we'll just start coding, so give you some demonstration about how the code is. The very first quick note is whenever we are coding, we must add the script tag at the end. I'll just start, what do we say? Let's start my VS Code first, then we'll head on to this part. Okay. Okay, guys. So I just opened a folder into this. If you want, I can open it again. Just go into this files folder and don't know what's happening. And open folder. And onto the desktop, I've created one folder named JS sessions, and there's one file, empty file into it. I'll just select that folder and we'll just get it. So this is an empty folder, index.html. So I'll just type out some basic HTML code. So Aditya must have told you that you must include various, what we say, plugins or add-ons to this VS Code. So there is this functionality when we type HTML, just type HTML:5, and when we hit enter, it will just give you that demo code. Just remember this HTML:5, hit enter, and you will get this demo code. So I'll just remove few lines so that you are not confused at first. So these lines of code just makes your what we say code responsive to your mobile. So there are various restrictions and various commands you have to add in CSS, and I will not go into that section right now. And it just nothing but means it's in English language, and we don't need this. Okay, so now it's clean HTML file, and we'll just say hello, and I'll just save it, and I'll open this into a new server. Okay. Okay. Is it visible, Aditya? I hope it is.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'll just put it into an H1 tab, H1 and tab, and I'll say hey, and I'll say save. So using this live server, you can get the changes onto the website without reloading the page just by saying Control S. Have you told them about live server, Aditya?
No, Kshitij. And just close the Explorer window so they can see the code clearly a bit.
Which window? Okay, this.
The
Okay,
Explorer
got it.
window. Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
got it. So guys, what I just used is where is this? Here you can find extension into this section. So what you have to do is you have to add live server. Okay. So this server is used for what is hosting your website locally. You don't have to go into your directory and click onto your file again and again and reload it again and again. So if you just install this, I've installed this. I would install it again. Okay. So whenever you install it, just go into your file, just right click onto your HTML file and open it with live server. So it is currently open. So what happens is whenever you just type anything, H1 and I say Control S, it will definitely immediately show you the difference. Okay, that's a quick note. So now we'll just look at the PPT again. So the first quick note that we had is always keep the script tag at the end. Okay, so whenever you are writing JavaScript, we have this script tag. Okay, you can write it anywhere into the HTML file. Either you write in head tag, either you write in title tag, or either you write outside of your HTML tag. It doesn't matter actually. So I'll just check if it's working or not. Okay, so I'll say document dot write. So it's just like a hello world program in what we say JavaScript, I would say. And otherwise I add a colon at the end, just like C. So look, I've just added this hello command onto this website. Okay. So how does it does is, so I just explain you this line. So I explain you here in this PPT that we have this. Yeah, we have this hierarchy, right? So very first element was this document, and next element was this HTML. So what we just did into this code was we typed document dot write. So what it did is this document object dot, and whenever you pass any value to that write function, what it does is it will just display that line of code exactly at the first line of the HTML, what we say HTML body. So that's what it did. So in JavaScript, we are going to use this kind of command everywhere. Means the document.get element by ID means to get access to IDs. We'll get back to you, get back to that thing again. So don't worry. So now our JavaScript is working perfectly fine. So the best, as I mentioned the quick note earlier, that we must always add this script tag at the end of our code, right? I will explain you why. Because whenever we reload a page, the very first thing that reloads is the head of our, what we say, HTML, right? And what we need at the first is we must visualize the website, right? We don't want the functionality, right? So if you type your script tag at the top, and if there are like about 90 to 100 lines of code, what it does is it will first reload that entire file, which is like unnecessary at first, and then it will reload the page. So it may create some issues for reloading. So always keep your file at the end, and that's a good, what we say, good habit. And also you can also give the type for this, what we say, tag. I'll say text slash Java script. It's a good habit that always we mention what type of tag is it. Obviously it automatically detects it, but we'll just reduce the time of detecting it, okay? And there are two types of, what we say, writing JavaScript into a code. First one is the embedded one, and the second one is the external one. Right now what we are doing is we have embedded the JavaScript code into the HTML code. That's why the current type is embedded code. And if we just write this entire code into another file, that JavaScript file, and then we include here the link, that would be an external link, okay? So I would just show you how to create that. Just add the tab src, and first I just create the file, and then I just show you how to add this. So I'm adding a new file, index.js, okay? And what I'll do is I'll just copy this line of code, I'll just cut it, okay? And I'll just paste it onto this file, okay? So currently you won't see any changes, but whenever you what we say, add the link to any file of JS, always start the live server again. So I'll just give the source to our JavaScript file. I'll just say index.js, okay? So now that we have got, okay, so I'll just close this live server. I'll just close this live server, and I'll again open this index.html with live server. Okay, so now look, it's working perfectly fine. If you want to if you want to confirm this, you can also say like, I just edit the text rather. Um, Hi there. Look, it just edited this, right? And now you can observe that the first thing that displayed was hey, and then the second thing was displayed was hi there, because we added script tag at the end of the file. That's why it did this. That's why it displayed this thing at first, okay? At second, sorry. So now, uh, as we have got familiar with this thing, we'll just explain to you variables in JavaScript. Okay, so as it says, variables in JavaScript need no explicit mentioning. So if you're familiar with Python, you must have familiar that we don't have to explicitly mention any kind of variable, right? But there's a bit quite different here. We don't have to mention any int or string character, and the plus point of variable in JavaScript is it can store all this type of, what we say, variables. Means we can store number as variable, strings as variable, arrays, object, as well as functions as variable. That's what the plus point is. I'll just show you the variables in JavaScript now. So I'll just remove this line. Okay. Okay. So now I'll just say first variable and say this is a message, and I'll say Kshitij, okay. And I'll add the colon at the end, and I again say document dot write. Okay. Rather I'll just pass the variable at the end, and I'll just say save. So look, I just displayed the variable that we created. And in this write function, you can also add the tags that we have in this HTML. So I'll just type out the h1 tab, and I'll say Kshitij. I'll just cut this line of code, and I can also paste it inside this curly braces. Sorry, inside this inverted commas. And if I say save, look, so you can add entire line of HTML codes that you have, and you can pass it to this document.write function. So now I'll also show you the variables. So it automatically detected this string, right? Okay. So you can also make various integers like 1, 2, 3, var array, and always notice what I'm saying right now. So in JavaScript, arrays can hold different types of variables. You can add string, you can add numbers, and you can also add other types of variables into a single array. So there's no restriction into it. So I'll add anything and 3 and let's say 3.4. So this is a set of array, and I'll say rather sorry. Okay, so I'll just pass the message plus space plus number plus array. I don't know if it will display or not. I'm just trying it for the first time, I guess. So look, it just displayed. Yeah, it displays. Okay, so now you can see here is I just displayed the first variable. I also displayed the number, and I also displayed our string, sorry, array that we have. So these are the variables that we have here. So we can also uh, add functions to our variables. Okay, so I'll start with the functions part. So the first things first, how to display a function, declare a function. So we'll just type out this keyword function so that it identifies it's a function, and then we'll add display name, just like our C, what we say, syntax, and then we'll add curly braces, and we can say console, um, console.log, and I'll say displayed. So now what does this console.logs mean? Okay, so look, there are no any changes into this website because we haven't passed this thing to the website. But if you right click on the website and inspect the page and look at the consoles, it didn't display anything. Lol. Info, don't know what's happening. Oh yeah, I didn't
Actually,
call the function. Yeah, I didn't call the function, I guess. So I can do like this, I guess. Sorry. Display. Nope, it's not displaying. So now what I'll do is I'll just add a button here, and then I'll show you what we can do. Button. Click me, and I'll add on click. So I hope you know this basic syntax of button as explained yesterday. So a button has this action that whenever you click onto that button, it must carry out any functionality into a JavaScript. Okay, so we have this on click, what we say, attribute or attribute we'll say, and after on click, what we have to do is we have to call that function. So we'll just call the function name. What was the function name? It was a display. Okay. Oops, it's not working. Console.log. Aditya, do you have got any corrections here?
Just try to code on click. Put the name of the function in
Oh yeah,
double
sorry.
quotes. You guys in console is made errors.
I think so. Let's see if it's open or not. Info. Yeah, it displayed. Sorry, I didn't check this part, that is info part. That's why it was showing errors. Okay. So look, now it's working. It's adding here. Okay. So that's how we execute what do we say, functions in JavaScript. So what we did is we just added a function. The function name was display, and we added this console.log. So console.log is nothing but our terminal kind of thing onto this website. So it will just display onto the background. The user won't see this. And what we did is onto the HTML part, I'll just remove this part again. Okay, so you can see this click button. So in this HTML, we just added one button. we added give the name click name, and we just added the functionality that on if we click onto this button, just call this display function into the JavaScript. So that's how it works. So the declaration of function varies. We can also declare this function in different ways. We can also, what do we say? So now what we have here is, I just typed var display, and then we just pass the function. Okay, so whenever so we can just write this function in this format if and only if we are passing it to a variable. So if I remove this section, so look, it's just showing us error that identifier expected. Okay, so there are two types of ways we can declare a function. So I'll just again say display and equal to function. That's how we declare functions. So I think that's enough for variables part. So I'll explain to you the looping part of JavaScript. So now you don't have to worry about the loops of JavaScript because it's almost similar to what we say C++ syntax. It's extremely similar. So I'll just write out the first for loop, that is for loop. So I'll say var I equals 0, I less than 5, I plus plus, and you can notice that the syntax is exactly similar as our C syntax. Then I'll again say log, and I'll say this is plus, and I'll just pass the variable I. So we've got this plus kind of thing into this JavaScript, just like we have in Python. So that's quite easy for us to display. Okay, so I am going to display this into our console. So let's see if it displays or not. Not defined. Display is not defined. Oh, sorry. So I have to remove this code. Sorry. Okay. So look, it just displayed all the loops that we created here. Display is not defined. Where is the display? It's the previous error. Don't worry about this. Okay. So look, as I'm running this, reloading this page, it is displaying all the loop that we created here. So you can notice that the for loop is exactly similar that we have in C. Okay. And now we'll just look at the while loop. It's similar to like C syntax. I'll again say the same thing. I'd say I is equal to I plus plus. Oh, sorry, I plus plus. Okay. I'll just display the variable I outside here. I'll just pass the value 0 to it, and then I'll increment the value. Then I'll console.log while plus I. Okay, so I'll just save this thing. So look, it just displayed this what do we say, for loop and also the while loop. Okay, and also the loopings, the do while loop also follows the same syntax. So you don't have to worry about the loops. I've just explained you the variables, and I think I've covered much of the part of the JavaScript that you need to understand. Okay, there's another thing. Whenever you're working with JavaScript, as we said before, in simulator you have to change various things. You have to change various aspects of what we say website. Like whenever you click on the button, you want to move a block of what we say a block of image from left to right. So in that case, how will you get access to that to those what do we say elements into this website? So there is this command that we have, document dot get element by what we say get element by tag, I would say. So there are various options here. You can get element by ID, get element by class name, get element by name, or get element by tag name. So you must know that these are tag names, and whenever we pass any what we say class name, you can add class. This is first class, and you can add ID like this, and this is my ID. Okay, so if you want to get access to these things, you have to pass get element by ID, and if you want to get access to tags, you have to pass get element by tag name, and we have to just pass the tag that we want to get access to. So in that case, in this case, what we have on this page is just h1 tag. Okay, so we'll just get access to this h1 tag, and what we have to do is we have to just change the inner HTML. So just close this window first of all. So what the inner HTML is, inside this tag, we have this word hey. So what I want to do is I want to just change that text to something like anything. So I'll just pass on the inner. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So what I just did is whenever you just call this get element by tag name function, what it does is it just renders out the entire page. It just goes through the entire code of the entire page, and it will find out each and every h1 tag into this website. So if there are 10 h1 tags, it will just return back the array of those 10 elements. Okay. So that's why we have to add this 0 into this rectangular bracket, just like we do in C to get access to various elements into an array. So we just got access to the first element. That's nothing but the only element to our website. And what we just did is we just said dot inner HTML. This is another function. And what we do is we just pass the text that we want to add into that. So I'll just say VLAB. I'll just add a colon. So look, I just saved this and it just got converted to VLAB. So why do we want to get understand this? So you can add a functionality like whenever you click onto that button, we'll just change that text. You want to move a block, you just type this tag, get element by ID, get element by class name, or get element by tag name. Okay. So as I said, in tag name, you get access to all those elements into an array. Similarly, if you say get element by class name, it will also return an array of all the classes that we have. Okay, and that is similar to this ID section too. Means like if you say document or get element by ID, it will just display that single element with that ID name that you will display into this. I'll just say get element by ID. So look, wait a second. Wait a second. Is this visible, Aditya?
Yes, Sitish. Yes.
Okay. So I think I won't get into this section because I think we're running out of time. Aditya will explain to you this document dot get element by ID and class name thing because then you will understand it much better, I think. So I think we are not running too much late, Aditya. Do we?
Yes, sir. No, Sitish.
Okay. So I'll just hand over a session to Aditya. So I hope you understand this section. If you have any doubt, just put it into the chat box right now. What is he saying? Console is made errors only so, Divya?
No, it's a
Okay,
previous.
okay, it's the previous
Yeah.
one. Okay.
Vaishnavi Patil is asking, why do we need to print in console?
Whenever you are working, just imagine you are writing a C code, right? So you have GUI functionality in C, right? So if you want to build a desktop app, you will display various component onto that desktop, right? Into the application, right? So in order to check that, you display various variables and check it onto the background. Just like in C, we work in terminals, right? We just display a list of numbers into the terminal, right? So it's just like a terminal. So that's why we need to display it into the console. That's all.
Yeah, we can use it for test purposes. So
Yeah,
if
this
we are
purpose.
facing any errors, then we can print out some variables so we can understand what's going wrong.
Yeah. Any questions?
I think no. So let me share my
Let's just
screen.
move on. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Is my screen visible, Sitish?
Yeah, perfectly visible.
Okay. So today what we want to do, whenever we click on the start button, we should able to see our code, okay, and then we should go forward like this. And when our code reaches the scanf statement, the user needs to print something, and if it is valid, then we can go forward. Something like this is not valid, so it will show error like this. And if we print the valid number, then we can go forward. Okay, so let's try from the first thing, to click on the button and then displaying the code. So right now, I have linked my JavaScript file here at the bottom of the page, and inside it, I haven't written anything. So first thing, let's try whether it is working or not. So console.log running. In JavaScript, you can give semicolon, or if you don't, it is perfectly fine. There is no. Okay, so we just refresh it and go to the inspect, and inside console we can see the running statement is there. So our JavaScript is perfectly linked. Okay, so now we want to access that button. Okay, so we will access it by using its ID, which is start. So inside it, let me create a variable where start button, and we will say document dot get element by ID, and we will pass the ID, which is start. Okay, so by doing this, you can access the variables. Get element by ID will return you single element with a particular ID. So make sure whenever you try to use IDs and classes, IDs are unique to particular element, and classes can be used for multiple elements. Okay, so let's just add an event listener, start but btn dot add event listener. So what type of event listener we want to add? We want to add click listener. So click, and we want to call a function. Here's another way of calling a function. We just give the arrow, and let's just print console.log click. Okay, let's see whether this is working or not. So I refresh the code. Okay, so whenever I click, you can see the button click is printed. Now we want to display. First of all, let's hide the code. Okay, so here is our code to hide our entire code from the screen. Okay. Okay, so this is a ID, and I'm setting the visibility to hidden. So if we check our its coding section, we have an ID. Okay, right here we have an ID which says its content will be hidden. And let me refresh. So you can't see the code right now. Now we will move towards it, and let me just copy that code. So in here, what we want to do is we want to display our code whenever user clicks a button. Okay, that didn't copy it. Paste. Okay, refresh and start. Okay, so now it is displaying the code whenever we click on the button. Now let's just add element variables that are essential for our program. So I'll just copy it. I'll explain to you what they are. Okay. So line number is basically where we can store ID of our particular line. So let's say this line has an ID of 3, 2. So for each line, we want to store an ID. And line count will be used for the number of line. So this line has 2, 3, and we will increment as the user or student click on the button. Okay. So let's just first check. We don't want this to run many times. So if line count is equal to 0, then and then only we will set the visibility to visible. Otherwise, it is already set to visible after the first click. So we don't need to do that. The next thing we want to check is if our line count, or let it be right there. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, we want to highlight the text. Right now you can see the text is in highlighted whenever we click the next. Okay. So first thing, we will change the text of the button. So start button dot inner HTML is equal to, you just pass the text that you want to set next. Yeah. Okay. And now we want to color it. So let me copy that code. Okay. So what are we doing? We are since whenever the student is clicking on the button for the first time, the line count will be at 0. We are incrementing that by 1. So it is right now 1, and we are appending that 1 to our line. So it will become line 1. Let me print it also so you can see. Console line number. Line underscore. Okay. So now we just refresh our code and start. So now you can see the hash include statement is colored in red. If I click the next again, the int main is written. But the problem is, and you here in the console, you can also see the ID of the element. Okay. But the problem is, the previous element is not changing its color back to normal, which is black. So for that, what we can do, we just add a condition if line count is not equal to 0, then what we will do is we will take the document dot get element id and we pass the line number. Okay, so if the line number is equal to line 1, it will pick up that element, and we want to set its color. So style dot color, yes, color equal to it is black, so we'll set it to black. Now you can see start. Okay, so now you can see whenever I click next, the next line gets printed and the color of the next line gets changed and the previous line becomes black again. Okay, am I audible, Sitish?
Yes, Aditya, you are audible.
Okay, okay. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we need to check this, or you can say we need to add comments to each of the section, right? Right. Like here, we want to say that we are including an header file. Okay. So what we will do, I'll just go and copy a function. This one, yeah, this one. At the end of there, we will copy it. Okay. So what it says is, its name is add function. We are passing two elements, the element that we want to capture and the text that we want to set. Okay. So for that, first we need to get comment. So CMT is a variable where I will store my comment element. Okay. So document dot get element by ID. Which element I want to get is the line number, and I want to get its children's. Okay. Children. So what the children property will do, it will return the number of children this ID has. So for example, we are at line 2 and its children, first children is this div element. It will not take into account int main. If you use child nodes property, then it will take this into account. Okay. So we want the first element, which is this one. And since it is going to return us an array, we want the first element. Okay, so CMT is pointing to the comment section. And okay, so if now we want to check where our code right now, okay, which line is activated. So if line number is equal to line 1, line 1. Let me open the HTML in this side section. So is it okay if I opened it like that? Answers in the chat box, please. So you can see both JavaScript and HTML. Okay, fine. So okay, if the line number is equal to line 1, what we want to do, we want to show a comment. We will just call the function add a comment, and we will pass the element in which we want to show the comment, and we'll say including header files. Okay, so let's check what will happen. I'll refresh that, and here you can see a comment has occurred, including header files. But the next problem is we want to hide that also. So in this section where we said if count is not equal to 1, we will add cmt dot style dot visibility, right? Visibility equal to, in double quotes, hidden. Okay, let me check whether it is running. Okay, it's working perfectly fine. So that is how we are going to code for each line. Next, we'll type else if for the second line. So for each line, you have to do this. Line number is equal to line 1, line 2, sorry. And what code is there? Let me just copy that. Okay, so for line 2, we have nothing. We are using for line 3. It is it here. We will just change the line number to line 3. Okay, so let's see what happens. We reload that, start, it's showing including header files, then it moves to int main. Let me zoom a bit. And now here you can see the border color is set to black, and we will change when we reach to this line. Okay, we will see this in shortly. Okay, so there is a error. What is the error? Let's check. Okay, oh sorry, my mistake. I didn't get the variables. Okay, so I need to take that variables. Let me just copy. Okay, so each of this variable display num, display remainder, and display sum is showing us the it's specifying a particular element, which is here you can see. Okay, so display number is pointing to this element. Display remainder is pointing to this element, and similarly display sum is pointing to this element. Now it will work. Start the execution. Okay, so now you can see the border color is changed, but when we move to the next, we want to change that color back to normal. Okay, so for that the same thing is there, else line number is equal to line 4. Okay, so what we will do, let me just copy the code. Line 4, we are just changing the border color of each line to black. Paste it. So this display num points to a particular element. We want to apply some style, so we use dot style property, and inside style what we want to change is border color. Okay, so refresh this. Let me close this window and start. Okay, the color is changed and the color is again changed back to normal. Okay, so now the next thing is we want to display an in text input and a button to submit that. So what we will do inside our HTML, we have this, let me show you. Okay, so here we have that input element and that button. Okay, so we will take input from the user, which number you want to put, and we will display the its output as we debug or as we go forward in our code. Okay, so for that, let me just print again, or let me just copy the code as if we are on line 5. Okay, so start button dot disabled, because why we are disabling it? We don't want anyone to go forward without giving the number. So if they go forward without giving the number, then our program will not work. So we are disabling the start button, and we want to show the comment. Okay, so this input and the button is inside our comment class. Okay, so we want to display that. So let's just see what has happened. Refresh, start. Okay, so now you can see it is saying it is asking me to enter number, and the next button is disabled. Whether I clicked it or not, it will not do anything. So next thing we want to do is we want to check whether the number is correct or not. So right now it is doing nothing. Okay, we need to add code for that. Okay, so let's check the ID. Okay, so the button has an ID of submit button. We need to access that first. Let me just copy that. Okay, scan button. I named it scan button. Then paste it here. Okay, so we have access to it. And similarly, just like we did for the start button, we have to add event listener to it. Dot add event listener, which is click, and we want to call a function. Okay, so let me just copy the content of the function. I'll explain you it line by line, so don't worry. Paste. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking the number. Okay, so whatever the user enters, I'm taking it by get element by ID input number, which is this one, our text box, and what value a user has entered by this. And I'm creating a variable which stores values between 0 to 9. Okay, so it's an array of 0 to 9. And then I'm checking if the number is in our letter. So the number entered by user has elements which are present in letters. If yes, then we are checking that. It's just it is because we don't want the user to enter a large number. A maximum size will be of 10 digits. Okay. So for that, we are specifying this condition. And if all the conditions satisfied, what are we doing? We are just enabling our start button so the user can move forward. We are setting the okay. So now this section will come into play. Let me show you. Okay, the section that you can see on the right side, the ID input and output. Okay, so the input section will come into play. It will display the number, whatever the user has entered. And I also point out this is not a single quoted string. Okay, this is something called a string template in JavaScript. So to type a string template, what you have to do is uh, on the upper side of your tab, there is a one key. We used to call it as a tilde sign. Just press it once. It will give you the string template inside a JavaScript. Okay, it is useful when you want to add any value to a particular string. Okay, and we are accessing that value by using dollar, curly braces, and the variable name. Then what we are doing, we are also setting the visibility of our submit button and our text box to hidden, and we are assigning the number to our actual number, and that's it. And we are just changing the border color of number, so the student can see which variable has changed. Okay, so let's just run that. Refresh it, start. Okay, so let me enter whatever. So it will pop up for a message that it is an invalid number. We need to print a valid one. 123 133. Okay, fine. As soon as I hit submit, here the text is changed to entered number is 133, and the border color of this number section is also changed, and the value is updated. Okay. So next, what we want to check the condition inside a while. Let me just copy that code again. Here is the while. Okay. Okay. So now what we are doing is we'll first change the border color of the number to black, and then we are checking if the number is greater than 0 or not. Okay. If it is, we will change the border color to green to indicate that our condition is true, and we are adding a comment that says condition is true. Okay. Let's refresh it, start it again. So first let's enter 0. Okay. Next. Here you can see our number is not greater than 0, so condition is false and the border color is changed to red. So if we enter a number greater than 0, let's say 1, 2, 3, submit and next. Okay, now you can see the condition is true and the border color is changed to green. Okay. Any difficulty till now? You can ask the question so we can move forward if nobody has any doubt. Anyone? Just comment, just chat no if you don't have any doubt. Kshitish? Okay, okay, you get a
Yes.
response. Okay,
Okay, okay.
no doubt. Okay. So now we will move forward. And the next thing we want to do is we want to perform some calculation like remainder, sum, and number. Okay. We'll just add that line. Okay. So line 7, line 8, and line 9. Get it? Okay, so on line 7, if you check out, let me show you. Okay, what we are doing, we are finding the modulo of number by modulating it by 10, okay, and storing it in the remainder. Same thing we are doing here. And the next, we will display the remainder on its position, which is this one. We will show the remainder here and sum here. Okay. And we are changing the border color back and forth so the student can understand which part of the execution is changing. Then on the line 8, which is this one, we are adding the remainder to the sum and storing it to the sum. Same thing here. And we are doing the same. Just the difference is you have to use parse int for lot many times, because like here we are dividing the number by 10, so it is possible that you will get an answer which is in a decimal point. We don't want that, so parse int will convert it into a proper integer. And the same thing is going on from line 7 to line 8. We are just changing the border color, updating our numbers. Okay, so let's run that. Start. Yeah. Okay, so condition is true. Okay, now you can see the remainder is 3. Okay, we added that remainder to the sum, it becomes 3. Okay, so now nothing is happening because we didn't write anything. Okay, so for line 10, what we have is the ending bracket. Okay, what we can do is line number 10, we want to go back to this statement, right? So we can check the condition again. So what we will do, we will just set the line counter to, let me check, uh, 6. Okay, so the while loop is on the 6th line. So we have to go to the 5th line. Why? Because before coming to this part, we are incrementing the line count here. Okay, so it will, whenever we click the button, it will increment. So right now it is 5, it will increment it by 1. So it becomes 6. And then this condition will become true. Okay, so if we, this condition, line 6. So let's check that. Start, next, 1, 2, 3, submit. Okay, condition is true. We are updating reminder, some number also. And again, we are moving back to while loop. Okay, so that's how you can move back or jump from one line to another while using a JavaScript. Okay, so there is no actual while loop you have to implement in JavaScript, because each time you press the button, an event will occur, and at that time you have to take a decision. So all the things are in a if else ladder. You have to follow that. So again, we will perform the same. Still the number is now. Okay, so our condition is false. So we are jumping to this line. Why? Because let me tell you. Because in our while loop, okay, so if you see here, the line count is 10. We set the line count to 10 whenever this condition fails. So if the number is not greater than 0, we will run this loop, this block. And here we are saying that the line count is 10, set to line count to 10. And the 10th line of our code is this. And since we are incrementing it by 1, we will go to this line. Okay, and on this line we have to print the sum. Okay, so right now we didn't have the code for that, we need to add it. Okay, so for line 11, okay, so now this output which I showed you sometime before. Okay, so this at this position we will print our sum. Okay, and also I forgot to add one line. Yes. That is just to change the color of border. Okay. Now let's see whether it's working or not. Refresh, start. I think it should take 2 digits. The condition fails. Okay, so you can see the sum is printed here, and which is the correct one. Okay. Now the next thing is, let me check. Yeah. So now we have completed our execution, and we want to pop up a message that our execution is completed. So whenever we reach on the line 12, okay, so we will pass an alert which says execution is completed, and we disable the start button and change the all elements border color to black. Start. Okay, so now you can see the pop-up. Okay, so execution is completed, and if you press OK, our next button is disabled. Now what we want to do, we want to reset all these things. Okay, so right now I'm in the wrong folder, wrong page. Let me just do it here. Submit, next. Okay, so now you can see the execution is completed. And what we want to do, we want to reset all these things, but right now it is doing nothing. So we need to add code for that. Okay, so just like the start button and the scan button, it will use variable. I don't know. Suggest here. Okay, stick with the name. Okay, so it says reset button. You can use a semicolon or not. It's totally up to you because it works totally fine. Okay, and we want to add an event listener just like we did for others. And, like follow function. Okay, inside it, I'll create another function. Function set all. Okay. So inside of this function, we will set our all other values to zero. Okay. Here we have the reset all function. Okay. So we are setting the line count to zero, sum to zero, num, everything to zero, and also our input and output to zero. The our code will also get hidden after this statement execute. And we want to enable our button. Okay, so set disable to false. Since we are disabling it here, let me check. Okay, so we are disabling our button here. We want to enable it, and we also want to change the text to start. And why we are using try catch block? Because at the end, okay, huh? At the end, on the 12 line, we don't have any child element. Okay, so whenever we run this, if our line number is on 12 and we run this, we don't get any child element, so it may cause an error. So to avoid that, we are just using try catch block. Let's see. uh, Everything is working fine. The condition is false. We printed the number. Execution complete. And okay, so it is not working. So there is no problem. Let me check. Okay. Oh, sorry. I forgot to call. Is it all? Okay. So execution complete. And whenever I click reset, everything gets back to normal. Okay. So that's how you can develop a virtual lab. This is the simple example. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? You can post your question in the chat section. If no one has a doubt, you can say no. Then I'll show you, if you allow us, how you can how you can make your web page responsive. Okay. So I'm not getting any answers. So do you want me to show you how you can make your website responsive or not? Okay, so let me do it. Let me share my. Before that, I'll just close all the windows. Just a sec, guys. Let me open my this side. I want to show you. Just a sec. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the wait, 1 second. Okay, so this is an another program that we made for eButtathon, and this page is responsive. Let me show you. Okay, at our console. So the numbers that you can see here are actually the width of your screen. Okay, I'm reducing it, the number is also changing. Okay, and at 68 pixels, my website is also changed to so it is becoming responsive. Okay. So let me show you how I did that. Okay, so this is the HTML file for the Armstrong number code. And in that, here I put some call MDs. So this is not the Bootstrap class. I just named it the same. And the call MD12, row class, and a container fluid class. So this is not the Bootstrap classes. I defined them by myself. You can see there is no Bootstrap attached here. So inside our simulation, container fluid says width 100%, and also instead of container fluid, let me show you the row. Okay, so row says display flex, and which will allow us to use another property which is flex direction, and it is set to row by default. Okay, and if I show you the okay, so these are the media queries that are very useful when you are making a responsive website. And inside of it, I have call MD12, which says width is equal to 90%, 96%, and padding is for top and bottom is auto, and for the left and right it is 2%. Okay. And inside my JavaScript, let me move down. Okay. So there is one method, or I guess attribute, called on resize. So whenever your window gets resized, this event will occur, and I'm assigning a function to it. Okay, so check width is assigned to it, and the what function says is I'm first calculating the width of your screen. Okay, so inner width returns the value of your width, screen width, and I'm storing into the width, and then I'm getting all MD classes. Okay, MD call MD 12 classes. I want the first class, so I just return the 0 here, and I'm storing it into MD 12. So if my width is going to less than or equal to 760 pixels, this line will execute. But it says MD12, which means, just a sec. Okay, MD12, which is this one, dot parent element. So parent element of this is the row. Okay, and by default, the flex direction for the row is row, and we want to change that. So dot style dot flex direction to column. So it will change the flex direction from row to column, and whenever our width is greater than 768 pixels, we are changing it back to row. Okay, and I'm calling this function because, let me just comment it. Okay, so let's say if we are already in a mobile view. Okay, this is your mobile view, and if you refresh this, you see something like this. Why? Because first time you are not calling the function, and as we resize it, it will call the function. So to avoid that, we need to call the function at least once. And now I will refresh this. So here you go, you can see the entire block is arranged in a responsive way. So it is useful if you have mostly we are going to have 2 or 3 elements like this. So I think without using any bootstrap, you can do this. And another thing, so is there any problem with this or any doubt? Yes or no? No. Okay. And another thing that I want to share is, so you might say that these are very basic examples, right? For developing biotech's experiment lab, there are going to be titration also. Okay, so we need scientific components like beaker and all the stuff. The idea behind that, to design a lab like that, you just have to follow the same rule. The first thing is your user gonna click the button. The next thing, you can assign a variable like step or set it to 0, and then check the value of the step, and according to that you can code, just like we did for each line if else statement. You can do the same and change, do the appropriate action. You can animate the thing using CSS animations. You can check it on W3 schools. It's the best way to learn. I think they have, they give simulators to you to run also. In their simulator you just have to run the code, and I think that's it for this. So if you have any doubts, you can ask it now.
So guys, we have
Okay.
tried to cover almost
Everything, yeah.
almost everything that we could give you. Actually, we weren't planning to conduct any trainings for you all, because in eButedan 2 there was training, but there wasn't training like the one we did. They didn't show us how to build simulator kind of thing. They just showed us some tags. They just showed us some basics of HTML and
Yeah.
CSS. That was quite difficult for if anyone wasn't comfortable with HTML, CSS, or JS. So we have tried to cover almost each aspect of each kind of language. So I hope you will build some cool stuff after the MS, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's all. That's all for coding section. So from
Yeah.
tomorrow, I guess we'll be getting some inputs regarding project management and I guess some
Documentation.
industry, yeah, documentation and some industry. What do we say? Um,
Industry
industry what is it?
standard
Standards and all.
documentation.
Yeah, yeah. So let's see if the sir is available or not tomorrow. So if the sir is available, we'll definitely have a session tomorrow. Or
Or
else
I
we
think tomorrow's session is planned for Puja Patil, ma'am, right? Yes.
yeah, we'll just ask the sir if he's available tomorrow or not. If he's
Okay,
available,
okay.
we'll just conduct it. So that's all for today. We have already pushed the lecture a bit.
Thanks. Welcome,
Yeah,
Ashutosh.
yeah.
I
Okay.
hope we are able to give some idea of how we can develop a virtual lab. So if there
Yeah,
are no question, we can end this session now. So just add,
yeah, we can. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So everybody saying thank you. Okay. So you can leave the meeting. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, guys. If you have any doubts, you can contact us.
On the
Thank you,
group, we
guys.
are available there.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prathamesh.